All right, so this is going to be a review of Twisters. It just came out. I just saw it yesterday. It's directed by Lee Isaac Chung. I'll see how I feel about it in a second. So in this, we got Kate, played by Daisy Edgar Jones. She's part of this group that's doing some project, and so they're going into a tornado, and they're using this mixture to try to make the tornado collapse or pretty much go away. Um, that tornado turns out to be way worse than they thought it was going to be, and she ends up losing almost her entire group. So 5 years go by, and she's a meteorologist, and she gets a visit from the only other surviving member of that team, which is Javi, played by Anthony Ramos. And so Javi, he was in the military for a little bit. He was using some device or something like that, and he got his hands on some prototypes, some smaller prototypes, and they're going to use those to be able to get better data on tornadoes. And there are a lot of tornadoes happening back home in Oklahoma, so he wants her to come back with him to Oklahoma to help them get data on those tornadoes. They get there and they're doing it, but there is this other group of tornado chasers. They're YouTubers. They're led by Tyler Owens, played by Glenn Powell, and they're pretty much getting in the way and competing with them and making their job more difficult. So I thought this movie was good. Not quite great. I had some issues here and there, just a few, but I think all the performances are good. I like the characters. I think they have good dialogue with each other. I think they have nice little banter and back and forth between the team that Kate's on and the tornado chasers. I think they have a nice little antagonism with each other. They're competing and messing each other up and things like that, especially with Kate and Tyler, where they're, they're both the people that can kind of read, the weather and kind of figure out which tornado to go for, if there's more than one, and things like that, which one they should go after. And she's telling him the wrong one to go to and things like that. I like that. And they start off antagonistic. As things go on, they become closer, and I like that. And I think they had some really good chemistry. When you do get to the tornadoes and all that, you do fear for them, right? I mean, obviously, there's the tornado chasers. When it's like a small tornado, they're like having fun. They're driving right into it, shooting off flares, and just doing their thing for their YouTube channel. But when things get serious, things get serious, and all the stuff with the tornadoes is great. It's it's exciting, it's entertaining, it's thrilling, but you still have those moments where things get really real and it is dangerous. The tornadoes are imposing over these characters, and characters are just getting swept up. I mean, when they're in peril or one of them gets swept up or something like that, you do feel for them, negatives. And this one is one that kind of went throughout the movie. There's a lot of explaining. There's a lot of terms being thrown out there about the wind and things like that. I guess the mixture that they use, it's some compound or something that's also used in diapers or something like that. A lot of terms, a lot of explaining. Some of it real or not. I don't know how much of it's real or not, but it's a lot. And it's to the point where it's kind of hard to keep it straight in your head as just an audience member, like remembering it all and being like, okay, so this is how she does this and that, how she figures this thing out with the weather, the wind. And there's a reporter that's writing a story on the tornado chasers. He's kind of the audience stand-in where they explain things to him at certain points, but not enough. There's even a point where they explain something to him, and even he's like, okay. And I'm feeling the same way. I mean, there's so much of that going on that it feels like at the end of the movie, I'm going to get like a quiz, and I'm not sure I would have passed. So that's one thing. There's probably too many characters because like the tornado chasers, like they have a good group, good amount of people, and only maybe two are all that important other than Tyler. There's one that's the closest with him, gets the most kind of dialogue with him and stuff like that. And then there's one that has like a plane that she, sends up, places like plane drone type thing, to get these overhead shots of the tornadoes for their YouTube channel. Other than that, the other ones they give dialogue every now and then, but they're not all that necessary. It's to the point where you forget about them. There's a decent part of the movie where they're not even in it. So it's like, okay, you could probably cut them down a little bit if you're not going to do anything with them. My last negative, which is probably the biggest one, is that this movie's too long. It's too long. It's around 2 hours, and it feels even longer than that. And for things to not feel all that fleshed out, or for characters not to really have that much to do, things like that, you definitely could have cut it down. Even though I liked the movie and I was enjoying it, I was entertained for the most part. There were points, especially in the middle, that I was like, man, this is really dragging. I was like, at some point, we got to get to the climax. We got to keep this moving, because man, as much as I like this, there were points where I was starting to doze off. I won't lie to you. There were definitely points where I was like, we really got to keep this moving. I like the characters. I think they have good dynamics with each other, especially Kate and Tyler. And all the stuff with the tornadoes is great, and it helps those scenes that these characters are so good, and their relationships are well done or well written. But there was definitely more you could do with them. I definitely think the writing could have been better. And this movie, like I said, is too long, and I was starting to get sleepy at points. So I'm gonna give it a good enough, right? I even with my issues, it's really entertaining. It's really thrilling. I recommend anybody go see it. And that's it. That's Twisters. Good enough. And yeah, we're done.